We are not in the chicken business, we're in the people business. For us, culture for the heart is how are we intentionally and consistently loving on the people around us. And here at Chick-fil-A, that is the biggest thing that sets us apart. When we don't have that grade A person within our organization, we say no, and we are willing to run short. 95% of my job is finding ways for people to love their job, to feel cared for, to reduce all of the chaos and the gunk that's in their brain so that they can just love on people. We have just found that the most sold out people in our company are actually the ones that we helped go through hard situations, and they have started to feel like more than a number. How can I just pour myself into you and love on you in unique ways and be the rock when every other aspect of your life is failing you? Show somebody that they're more than just a number. How you effectively love on people, it will produce amazing results.
Welcome to the Culture from the Heart podcast on the From the Heart Business Network. In a business world where employees and customers crave authenticity and trust, hosts Larry Levine and Darrell Amy are on a mission to find and showcase heart-centered executives and the companies they lead. You are about to hear an inspiring conversation with a visionary leader that's bringing heart into the workplace, empowering employees, serving their clients, and uplifting communities, all to create true success. This is Culture from the Heart. The movement starts here. Let's begin.
Welcome to Culture from the Heart. I'm your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine, and we're joined in the studio by Michel Harding, owner-operator at Chick-fil-A, where service starts with a smile. Michael, welcome to Culture from the Heart. It's awesome to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Honored.
We're excited. This is going to be a good conversation, Darrell.
I have no doubt about that. And as we kick this off, Michael, you know the question we ask every guest on Culture from the Heart, and that is simply, what does Culture from the Heart mean to you?
When I think a lot about just culture from the heart, I always talk to my team about breaking up words because I feel like it's always intentional. We don't just throw random words into something. So for us in our organization, we always talk about culture is what you repeatedly do. And I like to keep things simple. So when I hear culture from the heart, it's how are you repeatedly loving on the people around you? And that's not just the person that you're serving. For us, it's a chicken restaurant and we're serving a whole bunch of people on the other side of the counter, but it's also the person that you're standing next to and all the vendors that support us as we're going through this amazing journey. So for us, culture for the heart is how are we intentionally and consistently loving on the people around us?
Oh, this is so good. I'm so glad you brought the L word into this equation, Michael. So I'm going to ask you to expand on this is what does loving on your people look like at Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, I think for us, we always talk about it as how can you show somebody that they're more than just a number, more than just somebody who is coming into our restaurant that we get to pay a certain dollar per hour in order to serve a chicken sandwich. It's how can I love on you and care about you in unique ways? So I always talk about it. I heard this quote one time. It's called 5149. And the entire premise is how can you outserve the people around you? For my restaurant, like I have people who, I think about the high school student who wakes up at 6 a.m., goes to football practice, then has all day going to school and learning new things. And then they're leaving school, coming to work at Chick-fil-A. They work 5-6 hours, maybe get a break meal, leave at 11 o'clock, and then have to start the day over again. These are people that are working extremely hard. And when I have them into my restaurant, I strive to find ways that I can outserve them. And that's beyond just the $15 an hour that I give them. It's more in depth than that. It has to go into what type of career do you want to go to? What type of future do you see yourself trying to accomplish? How can I help you through some hard time that you're going through? I just got off the phone with somebody who ended up in the hospital 2 weekends ago from some health issues, and how we can help them figure out this crazy time that they're going through, and whether it's helping them with medical bills, being a shoulder for them to cry on. How can I just pour myself into you and love on you in unique ways and be the rock when every other aspect of your life is failing you? So that's where where we start is treating them more than just a number and somebody selling a chicken sandwich.
Amazing, this concept of outserving. And I think what's really powerful that I'm hearing here is having the perspective of, hey, these people on our team have a life outside of when they, step through the door and come to work. And I think this perspective of saying, hey, these are people that have a life. They've got, in your case, are working really, really hard. They have a lot of pressure outside of the pressure that's here.
Yes.
That's a beautiful, beautiful perspective for culture.
Amen. And I just think that's where you'll hear a lot of time, leave your emotions at the door. And I just think that's not realistic. When you are leaving your personal life, you're leaving your emotions at the door, you're not getting that full, authentic, genuine person coming into your restaurant. So I want you to come in, bring all of your, what they call baggage, bring all the things that you're frustrated with, because that gives us as an organization the ability to love on you. If you're going through a rough time and you just got out of a hard conversation with your spouse, or you just failed a math test, or your son just got diagnosed with cancer, whatever those things are, bring them in, because it gives us the ability to love on you well and to help you through those situations. And that's what people, when you talk about consistently loving on people, that's how people feel heard when they are helped through rough situations.
Oh, this is so good. This is leadership. This is what leadership, the heart behind leadership really looks like. Because when you can love on your people, and I've said this over and over and over again, if you can love on your people, they will actually run through a brick wall. Now, they're not going to run through a brick wall, but y'all get the picture behind this is they will do things that they normally wouldn't do if you're not loving on them.
Yes. Yes. I always tell people the name of the restaurant that I own is Chick-fil-A. But less than 5% of my job has anything to do with chicken. Like sometimes I'm talking about supply chain. Sometimes I'm a high school counselor. But the reason why we take intentionality behind helping people through hard situations is exactly what you just said. And we have just found that the most sold out people in our company are actually the ones that we helped go through hard situations, and they have started to feel like more than a number.
What an incredible perspective of just looking at hard situations as an opportunity. I think so many in the business world, so many leaders look at hard situations as a distraction, or as a, this is keeping us from getting things done. I think this perspective of looking at these as an opportunity to actually build relationship and build culture, incredibly powerful.
Amen. Amen. I always love to talk through and just kind of go on a different lane than most people do, that it doesn't always have to be the hard things. I know I've talked about some of the things that pull in the heartstrings of you had a cancer diagnosis or a rough conversation with your spouse. We've even felt that we can go above and beyond when you have something in your life that is important to you. I had one lady, she's an assistant director for us, that wanted to go to a concert and had tickets that her daughter gave to her for her birthday and wanted to go to this concert, but she couldn't afford the time off in order to go and do that. And we were able to love on her in unique ways with things that aren't even pulling on your heartstrings, but these are a way to go and do something that you're excited with, because we know your life is more than just chicken. And sometimes that's a good thing. Go and enjoy yourself. And this leader came back and was ecstatic about what we were able to do, because we just gave her extra time to go do something that she loved, and we were able to do it. So it doesn't always have to be heartstrings. Like, it can also be fun and exciting things. If we can find a way to do it, let's do it.
I love it. I love it. Well, don't go anywhere. We've got more coming your way, and we'll take a deeper dive into the culture at Chick-fil-A. See you in a moment. Let's be honest, finding the right people and building the right culture, that's the holy grail for every leader.
That's why we recommend Titus Talent, because they don't just fill seats. They help you build teams that thrive.
With their partnership plans, you get more than just hiring help. You get a committed team by your side that helps you attract top performers and retain them.
They bring strategy, data, and a human touch to talent optimization. No guesswork, just results.
So if you're ready to invest in your people and create a culture where everyone wins, head over to culturefromtheheart.com/talent to learn more.
That's culturefromtheheart.com/talent. Your culture is your competitive advantage. Design it with Titus Talent.
All right, let's get right back to it. We're here in the studio with Michel Harding, owner-operator at Chick-fil-A. Michael, obviously the Chick-fil-A culture is legendary. And in an industry of, fast food service where, let's just say, the culture of most experiences that I've had in the quick serve food industry have not been great. How in the world, talk to us about the role that culture plays in Chick-fil-A's incredible success in this space.
Yes, it is by far the most important thing that we do. We always talk about that here at Chick-fil-A. We are not in the chicken business, we're in the people business. And the more that we can pour into people well, the better they will end up serving the people around them. We live by, in my personal restaurant, this quote that cared for people, care for people. And the way that you pour into those that are around you, they actually care for people better on the other side of the counter. So I did this internal study within the guests that were coming into my restaurant and found that the employee satisfaction scores that we have, if a person is highly engaged and the percentage of our staff that is highly engaged, if that number goes up, so does our guest satisfaction. And if one of those numbers go down, it's direct correlation to the other one going down, which just shows that our team members will never treat their guest better than they are treated. So if we can go in and pour into them well and love on them and teach them a whole bunch of hospitality and show them hospitality, that they're an actual human being, they will in turn serve other people around them. So that's kind of a high level. This kind of, if you think about strategy, I talk about during my 7 principles of hospitality, that one of them is care for people, care for people. And that's how we do things here within our restaurant.
Oh, you got to share the other principles. I can tell, Darrell, there's some genius behind some of this. You got to expand on this if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'll give you one more. And the basic concept is that we hire people who like to smile. So that's one of our second principles. And it seems so out there, like so obvious. Like you hire somebody who likes to smile and then you don't have to teach them to smile. Like I had somebody, she was a cheerleader for 18 years and then she wanted to leave cheerleading and become in the restaurant. And I was so excited because this is somebody who is trained to smile, to create eye contact, to speak with a friendly tone. Like this is what we're looking for. And I put her on the front counter on her first day. She didn't even know where a large fry was on the POS. Because we hadn't trained her yet. And I was getting so many people raving about her because of how amazing she was. So that's one of our second ones. Like you hire people who are passionate about being in a loving culture. You hire people who are passionate about doing things that you want. And then in turn, they just live their natural self and they go and do that. So that's the second one. I'll give you a taste of one more. And that is here within Chick-fil-A, we are willing to say no. So I'll unpack that a little bit for you. If you've been hiring for long enough, you'll know that you'll have an open position and you don't always have this rock star, grade A person to fill the position. But when you are at that point, when you don't have that rock star person, you have 2 options. You can either hire somebody who is a B or a C to fill in that role, or you can be willing to run short and be willing to say no and not hire somebody for your organization. And here at Chick-fil-A, that is the biggest thing that sets us apart. When we don't have that grade A person within our organization, we say no, and we are willing to run short, even if that means that our experience is a little bit slower, so that we can make sure that we only bring people onto our staff that are going to add to our culture and improve it and not diminish it.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. I'm curious. Obviously, the industry that you're in is known to be a high turnover industry by its nature and by the age of some of the people you're hiring and all of that. In such a fast-paced environment, how do you bring a new person in and bring them into the culture? Of course, hiring people that smile, I think, is a great start. but in terms of like how do you take someone and onboard them into that culture so quickly?
Yes, we take an approach kind of how Tesla does. I don't know if you have gone on a road trip in a Tesla where you say, hey, I want to go from Little Rock to Atlanta. And you type it in and it tells you that, hey, you need to drive 100 miles, stop here for 15 minutes and charge. and then drive 30 more miles and stop here for 6 minutes and charge. And if you go along this journey, they basically have touch points that will bring you from Little Rock to Atlanta so that you don't run out of your charge within your Tesla. So what we've done in our restaurant is we have intentional touch points that every single team member does. For the first year, we have mapped it out.
Wow.
So that we can make sure that we're loving on them well. Everything from an applicant, after they apply, they're going to get contacted mandatory within 72 hours so that you're not just waiting for a response. Usually it's within 24. Like we have a phenomenal recruiter where I think it was like on a Saturday night and she responded within like 3 hours of them responding. I'm like, you need to take a break. Phenomenal. But so it starts there. It goes to our cultivation, which is our version of orientation, where we don't talk to you about mission. We don't talk to you about folding a sandwich. We talk to you about doing things that are important to you. How do you request off for your for the wedding that you're going to next month? How do you figure out when you're supposed to work? Who do you talk to on your first day of work? That's all we go through during what we call cultivation, so that you understand that the chaos that could come into a new job is eliminated. And then we even go down to every team member in our restaurant. Within the first 120 days of them working here, my wife and I will take them out to a nice restaurant here in Little Rock and get to know them. And that's when we start teaching them about mission and culture and values and pouring into them in this personalized dinner that's outside of our Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then I'll give you all one more. This is my personal favorite. My wife is, I always call her, she's basically her spiritual gift is baking. Like she is phenomenal. I always tell her that like Gordon Ramsay wouldn't be able to meet my wife's skills. Like she's just phenomenal. And I might be a little biased, but she is just amazing. So she will sit here and make a homemade dessert for every single team member on their birthday. And we're not just talking about cookies and brownies. We're talking about tres leches and homemade ice cream and homemade cheesecakes that she will make from scratch for this team member. And what we have found is that we have about 7 touch points that we go through with each of these people over the first year. When you're methodical about removing chaos, teaching them what they need to know, giving them vision, making them feel like a person. When you do this methodically, time and time again, we have found that people start feeling loved. And if I can get you to feel loved, that's how we add to a culture of love.
Oh, and you know what this does is they become, I'm going to use the cheerleader word as your example that you just recently had used. They become your biggest cheerleader as they go out and share with their friends. Man, you guys got to come over to this Chick-fil-A because there's something special going on here. They make you feel warm, welcomed. They love on you. And sometimes that's what some people need. So they actually become your advocates.
Yes. And that's why you hear people. I had someone come up to me the other day and they wanted a job and they're like, I just need something to make a little bit of extra money. And I just heard that y'all treat your people well. So I'd love to be a part of that. And I've had people turn down jobs where they could make a lot more money than working in a restaurant because it wasn't the culture that they had come to know and love at Chick-fil-A. So that's what I would say.
Well, hang tight. We'll be back in a flash for more of this great conversation with Michel Harding.
For many CEOs, sales feels like a black box.
You've got visibility into marketing metrics, financial dashboards, operational KPIs. But when it comes to the sales team, it feels like guesswork.
That black box, it's costing you because if you can't see what's happening, you can't fix what's broken or fuel what's working.
That's where the Sales Index steps in. It opens the black box of sales and shows you the real story. Who's thriving, who's struggling, where they need help, and how much revenue is being left on the table.
You'll get clear, actionable data on sales behavior, mindset, and team culture, so you know exactly where to invest and how to drive growth.
So stop flying blind. Go to salesindex.ai and mention Culture from the Heart for 10% off an index of your sales team.
Sales Index, because when sales stops being a black box, you start unlocking real sales results.
Thanks for listening to that break. Let's get back to the heart of today's episode. One of the things I really like about what you've shared is the intentionality with which you approach taking care of your employees, bringing people on board, you're not just talking about the first week on the job. You were sharing with us about the first year on the job. I'm curious, what advice would you give to other leaders who are listening in going, wow, that's inspirational, really being intentional about how we bring people into the culture?
My wife and I always talk about this, whether it is about family or whether it is about business. We live by this tagline of it's not all or nothing. There's gray in there. And my challenge for people that are passionate about living a culture by the heart, or culture from the heart, is to sit here and start with one thing. I didn't sit here and map out 12 months worth of things, 7 to 14 different items that go into every team member's journey on day one. I started with a person sitting here and saying, let's add a team member dinner and let's see how that goes. And then we actually started it and it didn't work and we had to refine it. And then we started talking about team member dinners or team member birthday desserts. And then we added in cultivation. And then we added in a full-time person who their entire job is to focus on loving people well and making them care by their job. So we tactically put all of these things into place, but it wasn't on day one. This is 6 years that I've been an owner, crafting these things into the journey of a team member. Just start with one thing. It's not all or nothing.
Oh, this is so good. So I just have to ask, as you look back in your career, there's something's telling me somebody loved on you to the point that you soaked it all in. And then when you became a franchise owner, you go, I'm taking that and I'm loving on my people just like that person loved on me. Can you share a little bit about that?
It was actually, I grew up in a very healthy family. I had phenomenal parents. They raised me together and loved on me and provided so many opportunities for me. When I was starting off within Chick-fil-A, I ran it like a machine. That I think the first year when I was a GM of a restaurant, I sat here and I think I printed off 242 W-2s at the end of the year. So massive turnover that was going on to this restaurant. I expected people like outside, I need you sweating. I need you running. If you're not running, I could find somebody who is. And it just led to a lot of turnover. And I did that and I started working for Chick-fil-A Inc. And I went to go visit an operator in South Georgia. He was in the middle of nowhere, had a restaurant that was about average volume, but he had the highest profitability in the chain, had massive sales in terms of like growth that was coming to his restaurant, and his customer satisfaction scores were through the roof. And I was like, I have to learn from this guy. What's going on? And I walked in with my normal, let's just run people over and let's figure out what this is and let's get out of here. And he sat me down and he just taught me this very easy concept that he calls truth and love. And like how you effectively love on people, it will produce amazing results. And it was just one of those paradigm shifts where I sat down and he loved on me well. He showed me every single person who walked into his restaurant. He's like, that's the mayor. That person owns a construction business. This person is a single mom. That person works at the gas station down the street. He knew like the next 10 people that walked in his restaurant. And it just blew my mind. And he just really methodically and radically changed my leadership, that it's not just about pushing people to accomplish a goal, but loving on them and them wanting to in turn accomplish that goal. So he just really loved on me well. And that radically changed the way I go about how I do things.
It's interesting. Obviously, anyone that's been to Chick-fil-A has experienced the hospitality in the restaurant as a customer. But what I sense here is you really take the concept of hospitality to your team members. And, and it seems to me as you take care of your team members, you're hospitable to them. Then in turn, they're not just only saying my pleasure, but they're actually, actually delivering hospitality. So share with us more. I know once again, we got leaders listening in going, I want some of this sauce in my organization. How do you think about, how should a leader think about being hospitable to their employees, not just their customers?
I always tell people to start with what's important to the employee. So I think tactically, one thing we do as a part of that cultivation, we have the team members take a survey. And in that survey, it talks about what is your favorite dessert? what's your coffee order? What is your favorite type of pizza? What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite store to shop in? We get to know all these things, about 20 questions on this survey. And then you don't just take that and keep it in Google Forms and never touch it. What we do is we take that survey, and then when we buy pizza for the team, I look at who's on the shift and I go and buy them pizza. Or for me, if you were right now to say, hey, thank you for being on this podcast. Here is a Snickers bar. I'm like, you know what? These guys are great. I appreciate that. But if you give me a bag of cheddar Chex Mix, I'm like, these people know me, they care about me, they love me. This is what I just want to talk about for hours. So what I love about it is I feel so much more cared for if you give that to me. So that's what I say, start there and then give them things that you are amazing at. My wife is amazing at making desserts. So we found a way to use a skill set that we had within our ownership realm to love on people well. Some people are great at making videos. Some people are great at writing handwritten notes. Do whatever you're skilled at and find a way to do it for somebody that's on your team. So that's the way we do things. We want people to feel loved whenever they walk in those doors. And so those are some tactical things that we do within our restaurant.
Really cool.
Oh, this is so wonderful. The more you know about your people, the more you grow with your people. Little simple Dr. Seuss rhymes. But it does play out, Michael.
It makes a massive difference. And what I love about this podcast is we have rarely talked about chicken sandwiches. And we're not sitting here and talking about how to put 2 pickles on a bun or how to get one more car through the drive-through. Like, this is my role. 95% of my job is finding ways for people to love their job, to feel cared for, to reduce all of the chaos and the gunk that's in their brain so that they can just love on people well. Because if we do that, everything else will take care of itself.
Well, I think that sums it up beautifully. Michael, thank you so much for giving us a window into your mind and also into your heart around this. This has been really amazing. Thanks for investing in us today.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course it was. I love that.
I knew that my pleasure is going to come in this, Darrell.
Of course it does. But listen, it's like he said, we're not talking about chicken sandwiches and food service here. We're talking about people. And I think early on, he said, we recognize that we're in the people business. We just happen to serve chicken sandwiches. But when you take care of your people, when you love on your people, when you're hospitable to your people, then they'll pass that on.
You know what's interesting is we use the hospitality word a couple times in our conversation with Michael. Inside of hospitality is the premise to serve. And so as leaders, I want you to go back and listen to this and then just ask yourself, how am I serving the best version of myself to my people?
What a great conversation. Well, thank you for tuning in today. We've got so many great guests lined up. If you happen to know a CEO that is heart-centered and culture first, we'd love to meet him. Just go to culturefromtheheart.com, click on Nominate Your CEO, and we'd love to talk to them on a future episode. We believe that culture is the heartbeat of every organization. And as Michael has reminded us today, it's about loving on your people and being intentionally hospitable. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Culture from the Heart. Until next time, lead with your heart and watch your culture thrive.
Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover heart-centered leaders shaping extraordinary company cultures. To access a leader guide with notes from this week's episode, simply click the link in the show notes or visit us at www.culturefromtheheart.com. Do you know a CEO who's built a culture from the heart? We'd love to hear their story. Head over to www.culturefromtheheart.com and click the Nominate Your CEO button. Until next time, remember, great cultures start with the heart.